The building work is finally finished in Essex, and Monty is keen to see the result of Denise's ever-evolving plans.
It's quite a long time since I was last here with Denise and Dave, and I'm expecting great things. I love the idea of this folly built in a back garden that hasn't really been touched for years. I'm expecting something spectacular.
I'm really excited that Monty's coming back today. It feels like a lifetime's passed since he's been, and it'll be interesting to see how he sees where we've got to.
Hello.
Good morning.
Oh, you've been doing something.
Good to see you.
How are you? Nice to see you. How do you?
Morning.
Yes.
Wow.
Little different to last time you came.
It's more than a little different. It's transformed. Because when I left you, you had to do some refinements because things weren't fitting, were they?
That's right.
They weren't working out. So what happened next?
We decided to move the folly from the left-hand side of the garden to the right-hand side of the garden. So it was the main feature that came down from the path because we wanted to keep it simple.
Yeah. This is the bony structure, if you like, that it will be fleshed out by plants. Yeah. And at certain times of the year, half hidden by plants.
We're hoping that. We want to have the plants working all year.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to hope it. You make it happen. That's down to you.
So, has all the replanning had any knock-on effects?
In terms of budget, where are you now? This is the money man roaring with laughter.
No. Genuinely,
yeah.
I have no idea.
Right.
Because the budget, in terms of the original 8,000 that we said, we know that that's blown.
So you're over budget. We don't need, but you don't know by how much. But you seem remarkably unconcerned about that.
They've delivered exactly what we wanted. Whatever the bill is, I feel that it's going to be a fair bill. So whether it would be...
I must come and work for you. I like your employment style.
The one thing I would say, in all honesty, is my son has been warned that his ISA might be depleted.
OK.
With the ruins up and the bank balance in tatters, they'd better get on with the planting. Denise wants a bed of lavender, but worries about her soil and needs Monty's advice to give her plants the best start.
Basically, we've got clay.
If I turn that over...
Yeah.
If I squeeze it, it's a nice clayey lump. OK, that isn't ideal for lavender. So what you'd need to do, as much as possible, is lighten that up.
OK.
There are two ways of doing that. One is to dig in organic matter, compost, manure, bark, leaf mould, anything like that will help a lot. The other, which is even more effective and probably more suitable for lavender, is grit.
OK.
Stone. Have you got any grit and stone?
I have.
Lavender likes poor soil.
OK.
It's to thrive.
Well, I want it to thrive in the worst conditions and...
Well, what you call the worst conditions is best for lavender.
Yeah.
Sprinkle it on like this. And then fork that lightly in. But the idea is to dig it first.
Yeah.
Then spread your gravel or grit as much as you've got. Then fork that in.
Right.
Then it's ready for planting. And already, you can see by the way the fork is going in the ground.
So much lighter, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Okay. If you can plant easily like that, it does make life a lot easier. We don't want it too deep. You don't want it any deeper than the height of the soil.
OK.
And if you really hit a clayey bit, you'll do no harm by simply putting a bed of stones for it to sit on. And that means when the roots go down, they don't sit in water.
OK.
They may well grow through it, but there's a kind of barrier. If it's really heavy rain, if they sit in a puddle, they'll die.
Rot. Yeah.
They will rot and die.
With the lavender in, Denise is keen to try Tom's suggestion of planting into her brickwork, but there's a problem.
The walls seem very finished. There doesn't seem to be many natural crevices and holes and nooks and crannies that we can plant into.
So if we make our own nooks and crannies?
If you're happy.
And yeah.
Get a hammer, get a chisel, and we'll nook and cranny to our heart's content.
OK, lovely. I'll do that.
Undaunted by having spent a small fortune on her folly, Denise seems quite happy to watch Monty knock holes in it.
Immediately, it makes the wall look more interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A little bit of soil. Take a section off. Push that in there like that.
I like that, and I like the colours of that.
Yeah, I agree.
She's chosen a selection of alpines and succulents, which are really easy to plant. All that's required is a hammer and chisel. Over time, these plants will self-seed and spread over the brickwork, creating the aged appearance and coverage that Denise is after.
They're called house leeks because they grow on the roofs of houses, and they've evolved to grow with very, very poor soil. We're lucky. Root in there. Okay.
Lovely.
So I think that's it for today. When I come back, Dave will be too busy gardening to speak, having found your true love, your true calling in life.
We'll say.
Before he leaves, Monty has a last bit of advice.
Don't make the mistake of underplanting to allow things to grow in a year or two. Overplant and take things out in a year or two.
Oh, OK.
It's a small garden, you can afford to do it. OK, I'm going.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye so much.
Cheers.
What you have there is the fascinating backbone of a garden, but not yet a garden. They need to really put the same energy and attention into the planting that they have into the structure.
Understanding what your soil is and how best to get your plants to work for you from that. That was really the magic of Monty for me.
When the planting is done, then there will be a garden. That's what I'm looking forward to celebrating when I return. Hello.
Hey, Monty.
Well, somebody's been doing some work.
Well, it's us.
Nice to see you. How are you? I'm trying to remember what it was like. What was a really forbidding slope, you know, suddenly looks a little bit more accessible, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
If I'd come initially and seen that, and you said we'd like to grow something edible, preferably wonderful vegetables on there, I would have thought it was tricky, but possible. So I think we've gone from mad to possible.
Yeah. Excellent.
Well, that's a relief. And now it's time for Monty to roll up his sleeves and help with the next task. Building a gabion for terracing, something neither of them have done before.
Yeah, we're going to find out how to do it by doing it.
Yeah.
The gabions will be instrumental in stabilising the slope and preventing subsidence. Joe has salvaged some old wire fencing from the woodland, which when cut to size will be perfect.
One Gabion.
They attach the sides with a simple wire tie.
Right, how solid does that seem? Well, it's not that bad, is it, for a first effort?
Yeah.
We can't put the top on
No.
till we filled it up, but we can fill with anything. Normally filled with stones, but it could be hardcore, it could be bricks, it could be tiles.
Should we try and put it in position, see if it does fit?
Okay.
OK, we're ready for you.
You are ready, are you?
Right.
So that has got to be flush with that, and
Yeah.
it should be the same height, should it?
Well,
Yeah.
well, it's only just out.
For some reason, we're a bit proud.
Yeah, I can take that down a couple of millimetres if you like.
No,
Yeah.
to be honest, I think when that's loaded up with stone, it might even sink a bit.
Yeah, good point.
We're quibbling. It looks great.
It does.
It looks good.
I'm happy with it. Are you happy, Joe?
Yeah, really happy.
Done.
To fill the gabion, Joe has decided to use house bricks which were found in and around the site.
Let's say another like that.
I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, does it?
It's not going to be perfect, don't worry. Behind this, you can just chuck in any old stuff.
Yeah.
How about that?
Look at that.
See, I think when that's planted, it will look
That
nice.
looks really nice.
Yeah.
Once the gabion is backfilled with rubble and topped with soil, it's time to get the herbs in.
This is the apple mint. So we'll just loosen that up a bit. And I don't try and untangle it,
No, okay.
just break it. And what that will do is stimulate new growth.
Right.
Just rough it up. And then we'll put that in there, like that. And the advantage of that is it won't then spread and fill the whole thing.
And take over.
Yeah, and take over.
Okay.
Let's have some lemon verbena.
Okay.
So we'll put that in there.
Well, three of these.
The lavender and the lemon verbena and any Mediterranean herbs will like is the drainage.
Oh, right,
They will
okay.
love that because with the rubble underneath, this will drain really well.
Yeah.
So it's got some goodness, but it will also drain.
It looks as though Joe's research has paid off.
I tell you what, that's not bad. And if you have more like that, I think they'll look great.
I think so too.
Oh, is that lovely?
Are you happy with it in principle?
More than principle. I'm really pleased.
Thank you for all your advice.
Thank you for your advice. I now know how to make a Gabion, which I didn't before. So that's brilliant. All right, I'm going to go. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Mwah. Bye-bye.
And I'll see you.
I learnt so much today with working with Monty making the Gabions, and we both learnt together about how to build them. I definitely think that Monty's starting to see the vision.
I feel much more buoyed up now. And if what we achieved today can be expanded out across the whole site, then I think the results will not only be effective, I think it will look spectacular. So greenhouse, obviously, one tip, it's a real temptation with a greenhouse to use it as a hothouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not a hothouse. Open it up as every possible opportunity. I'm right, the door's shut now.
Yeah.
It should be open.
Right, okay.
Grow everything so it's got just enough protection.
Right.
And then that way, the fluctuations of temperature won't affect it so much. You know, everything will grow stronger and better. Get it open and get the ventilation open and get the plants sort of toughened up. It's very exciting. It's good. I love the enthusiasm. That's great. And now nice compost heaps.
Yes.
I see you've got your compost bin set up. That's good.
Yes. We're quite pleased with this. Quite
Pallets.
rustic.
Pallets work well. I've used
Good.
pallets a lot in the past for compost. And they let the air in,
Yes.
which is essential. And, you know, when it's full, turn it and off you go again. So
Yeah.
no problem at all. This is good.
Do we need to be covering it to
Why would you want to cover it?
just keep heating? I always thought they needed to be quite hot.
The heat in a compost heap is almost entirely generated by digestion.
Yeah.
Bacteria digesting the compost. So therefore, you don't need to create. They are
Okay.
creating it. They do need oxygen. They do need moisture. It mustn't be too dry.
Okay, yeah.
And you can either cover it to keep the moisture in or to stop it getting too wet.
We put a lot of kitchen matter on there.
Yeah.
And I'm just a little worried about what I might attract if there's open kitchen waste.
Right. As long as you don't have meat, fats, or cooked carbohydrates, you won't attract stuff unduly. I mean, you can't stop mice, rats, whatever, if they're around.
Yeah.
You will at some stage attract vermin.
Okay.
Usually in winter, usually when the weather's very bad or whatever. The best thing to get rid of them is to turn it.
Okay.
With that tip for unwelcome friends, Richard moves on to another part of the garden he wants Monty's help with. Since cutting down the overgrown trees, the garden is open to the fields, so he's decided to plant a hedge, one that will deliver edible fruits and berries.
Planting a hedge is always the same. It doesn't matter what you plant. There are certain things you need to do. First thing we have to do is dig a trench along the line of this.
Right.
We need to loosen the soil, ideally about 1 metre wide.
Right. Now, straight away, Monty, I'm getting resistance here, which tends to mean...
Well, you've got to plant into reasonable soil.
Yeah, I'm definitely...
So either you have to remove what's in there or move the line of the hedge.
Okay, that's what I'm up against.
Right, well, that's good. You got it out. It's a nice stone.
It is a lovely stone, yeah. How far down is stone acceptable for this?
In general, you need to go down. You need to be able to have a clear spit. That's the length of the spade. To make up his hedge, Richard has chosen a selection of native deciduous trees, which be planted when they're still dormant. I always say this to people, and they never really believe me, but it is so important. Do not expose the roots at all. Okay?
Right.
So you take one out when you need it and cover it back over.
Can I ask
preferably
you
down.
why?
The feeding roots are these very, very fine roots, okay? I mean, some of these you can't see. So the finer the root, the more important it is for feeding.
Right.
If they dry out, they can die. I think of it like surgery. If you were transplanting something, if you were transplanting someone's finger, you wouldn't push it on the side and say, okay, hang on a minute, I'm going to have a cup of tea before I do this. I want to steady my nerves.
I understand.
You would, you know, it would be in ice or whatever it is. that it
Yes.
would be in.
Yeah.
Now this is Prunus spinosus, or blackthorn, and has sloes. Makes wonderful jelly,
Yes.
gin.
Perfect.
Really, really beautiful fruits.
Yes.
So that's good. And we've got here, this is a field maple, Acer campestre. Much underrated hedging plant and tree, one of my favourites actually. Native maple, and is a beautiful hedging plant. We'll put the hawthorn in as well. As a basic rule, you just dig a hole, stick them in.
Right.
I'm going to put a staggered row. So
Okay.
it's going to zigzag.
Right.
As Helen and Richard's garden is surrounded by farmland, mice aren't the only visitors that they'll have. So we've decided to wrap the young trees with guards to give them protection from rabbits. We haven't finished. That's the planting. Now they need a really good soak, and when we've done that, we'll mulch it.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Monty. And if during watering I expose roots,
We're going to mulch it, don't
we're
worry.
going to mulch it. So, okay.
There you go.
It looks great. Really great, thank you.
Good. I mean, I think it looks good now. It will look fantastic in 3, 4, 5 years' time.
Yes.
It'll look good still in 500 years' time.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really pleasing to know,
is.
isn't it? Yeah,
It's
I'm really
lovely.
pleased with that comment.
Good.
I think the hedge
Spring has arrived, and safe in the knowledge that the garden in Cadeby is on track, Monty has headed to West Sussex for a progress visit to Jan and John's Portuguese garden.
I've chosen a perfect day to come back and visit Jan and John at Petworth. But there are 1 or 2 quite tricky things I need to sort out today.
Show you where we got.
I can see you've got them.
Yes. That's,
Now, there were 2 things that when I left last time that bothered me. One was that you're both incredibly busy. Have you had enough time?
I think we're probably slightly behind where we thought we'd be.
Quite tough.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
And still a fair bit to do.
An awful lot to do, I think, yeah.
The second thing is actually more difficult, was because when I left, I wasn't really clear that you knew exactly what you wanted.
I think that was really fair, but since we saw you, we went on our inspiration day,
Yes.
and that's helped enormously
Oh,
for
tell
me.
me how. Tell me how.
Well, because I think the combination of you saying you've got to get the right plants for the right location, and so I've kind of somewhat put the Portuguese thing to one side and thought, right, I want to get that feeling,
Oh, yeah.
but I want plants that I know that will work.
Okay, so that's good. That's a relief.
So I've got one quick question. I've got quite a lot of agapanthus in this garden, and I just want to ask your advice on something.
Okay. Right, which agapanthus is this?
White heavenite.
Of course, agapanthus is perfect for your Portuguese theme. Now, what's your problem?
Well, what do you think?
It's burst the pot.
Yeah.
It's so pot-bound. There. Now, in almost any other plant, you would say that was terrible and it should have been potted on. In agapanthus, it's a really good thing. And the old saying was when everything was potted in terracotta pots, you should only pot on an agapanthus when it broke the pot. If it's in open soil and the roots grow out, you get lots of foliage and no flowers.
That's the best thing.
Yeah, and if you want flowers, you've got to constrict the roots. You can either pot it on a little bit and sink it in pots and then lift them, or you can, when you plant it, make sure there's plenty of stone around it. But don't think there's anything wrong there. That's perfect. That's how it should be.
Fine.
Jan's other plant purchase is a little larger. A 4-metre-high windmill palm that set her back over £600. She sees it as the garden's centrepiece. But Monty soon takes the shine off her glittering crown.
You would not choose to plant Trachycarpus into heavy clay.
And clay is exactly what they've got.
You're lucky. You've got yellow clay, you've got grey clay. Are you utterly wedded to a dry garden?
Well, a lot of the plants I've got aren't really
Okay.
that dry.
Okay. Because it's not going to be that dry.
No.
It's bad news for Jan's very expensive palm tree.
If I'm looking worried, it's because I am.
Jan's plan to have raised beds means they do not have to plant directly into the clay subsoil. But there's still the drainage dilemma to solve.
What we don't want to do is just sit in a plug of water-lined clay.
Yeah.
What I suggest doing is digging a hole,
Yep.
backfilling with stone,
Uh-huh.
and then get the drainage in.
Ideally, Jan would need to hire a mini digger and churn up a good 12 inches of this subsoil with stones. Today, though, it's down to man, or should that be Monty, power.
Getting hot. Easy gardening, gardening that you're not fighting all the time, is about suiting the right plant to the right place.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay.
That's what
But
I
I
want
have
to
to
hear.
say it. But I mean, you know, on the plus side, you're raising the soil up. You can we dig a hole, we put drainage in. So it may well be fine for years and years and years. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it is heavy. I'll tell you what, I'm too weak for that.
I think if you tip it...
That's okay, you just manage the end. That's it.
Woo!
There she goes.
Release the pole.
Beautiful.
When you're stamping in any tree, foot facing the tree and go at an angle like that. And you'll find that it anchors it in best and you'll do least damage.
Okay.
Good.
Good morning's work.
I thoroughly enjoyed today. I always like planting really big, dramatic plants. Although I confess that digging through that really solid clay wasn't a lot of fun.
At one point, I did think all was lost, but I think by a matter of compromising and understanding the environment, then I think we're on a good way.
There's an awful lot more to do. But they've got 7 weeks to do it in. And when I come back, I fully expect to see it finished and transformed.
We'll be fine. Come June, it'll be like Lisbon
Days.
out here.
Monty.
With help from his friend Sarah, Ross hopes to surprise his mentor.
Monty, how you doing?
I'm fine and I'm delighted to see progress.
Progress. It looks a little bit almost like an allotment.
Has it been hard work?
Yeah. I mean, I'm having to come up every couple of days to stay on top of the weed.
Right. And so you've been guiding him, sir?
I have. There's been lots of very interesting text messages of, can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
Time for an inspection.
Crops are growing. So
Radishes.
Radishes, and they've really come up well.
Yeah, and some herbs in my little buckets, which were just lying around the plot.
But the big question is, has Ross limited his expectations?
One of the things that I think I remember saying to you is not to try and do it all in one go.
Yeah, it's less daunting. I can see progress happening because I'm sticking to the plan.
Good. Now, what would you like me to mentor you with today while I'm here?
OK, so if we take a look at the compost heap.
It's always a good place to start. That. Lead on.
As Monty advised, Ross has made his compost bins with more than one compartment.
Well, it's good. It's a really good start, this. Pallets make great compost heaps. And that's your composting material.
Yeah, I mean, I've been chucking everything in there.
Monty believes that, like this, Ross can have his own homemade way of enriching his soil. But there are rules to making good compost, and a quick look soon shows Monty that these haven't been followed.
You can add anything that has lived, but I wouldn't add any cooked food, any meat, or any fats.
Right.
Because that would just attract rats.
OK.
But you can add an old jersey, a woolen one, your hair, if you have a haircut, kitchen waste, anything like that. Chop it up, mix it up, and then finally you want a good balance between brown and green. And the brown are woody stems, dry stuff, whereas actually the things like the grass and fresh leaves are green.
OK.
Green high in nitrogen, brown high in carbon, and you want a balance between the two.
Kind of makes sense, so...
Kind of makes sense. That's damning with the faintest of praise. Listen, this is a lifetime's experience I'm handing on to you. I'm the king of compost.
It totally makes sense.
OK, so let's get that out and we'll break it up as best we can.
There's no hiding from the expert. Monty can tell Ross hasn't got the mix right or done enough preparation to help it break down properly.
Right, if I open it like that, Can you see how that this is actually as dry as a bone?
Okay.
And it's not composting at all.
Right, okay.
And if you put things in there, break them up, increase the surface area, the more of that you can do, the better.
But there are some things that are never going to work.
It's no good burying a rose in a compost heap.
I was hoping you wouldn't spot that one.
I think it's going to compost.
Yeah.
If you can't shred them, don't add them to the compost heap.
And having gone through what's there, Monty follows this with a suggestion of what Ross can add to his rather dry heap.
Have you got some green material?
Bucket of greens.
Brilliant. Now, do you see how this is now getting a bit chopped up? There's a much better chance of that composting.
Okay.
If we mix that with that lovely green material,
Yes.
and then if you chop this up a bit, like that, and mix it a bit, mix that up in there, and already you can see literally green and brown, which is a pretty good guide to go with. That will compost.
Okay, great.
And if you feel it, it's light. There's air in there.
Right.
It shouldn't be heavy on the fork or in your hands.
Okay.
The other thing is if you've got a lot of dry material and you can't do anything about it, water it.
Okay.
Wet it.
Right, okay.
And that will dramatically help. You know, mix it all up so it's nice and loose and aerated, and that stands a fighting chance of making compost.
Start cooking.
Yeah. You're on the road to compost.
Excellent, brilliant, thank you for that.
It's nearly time for Monty to leave. But before he goes, he has a few final words of encouragement.
Keep the impetus going.
Yeah.
And remember, if you go to the trouble of clearing a piece of ground with a new allotment, the worst thing you can do is leave it empty.
Yeah.
Because the weeds will come back.
Right.
I'm coming back in a few weeks' time to help you again.
Yeah.
What's apparent, talking to Ross, and perhaps even more watching him listening, is that he's an intelligent, thoughtful man who, of course, can manage growing vegetables.
I think it is going to be a trial and error because, you know, as I've said many times, I've never done this before. But hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm doing everything as well as I can.
What is really noticeable is that he's tentative. He doesn't have a lot of confidence. And I suspect that's all to do with his frame of mind. There's no question that as he gets more assured, the allotment will get better too. I'm very excited at the prospect of seeing a really large tree with gnarled, mature growth dominating the garden. I really hope she's gone with it, because it would be very exciting.
Things have definitely moved on.
Right. You've been busy. Let me just work out what's been done. Is there going to be a path?
The path is going to follow all the way from the deck into the rose arch.
Okay. And the rose arch, which is now in position?
Yes, I'm planning to keep it there in the little corner of the garden.
But clearly, Monty is missing something important.
I was expecting a much larger tree. At what point did you change your mind about that?
I don't think I want a tree overwhelming the rest of the garden.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, what matters is you've arrived at where you want it to be. So the next stage is to plant it. Where do you want the tree to go?
Monty can see that Alex is beginning to feel more sure of what she's after. Time for action.
I'm thinking basically right in the middle of the garden, and the path moves around it.
So if you go back onto the decking and you can see, and just say up a bit, down a bit.
See, I was going to move it further to my left, your
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe slightly towards me. And then I think we've got... Yeah, that's probably about...
How's that?
I think that's probably about where I was going to put it.
Once Alex has selected the spot, Monty gets ready to plant the precious new addition to her garden. Just on cue, reinforcements arrive.
Right, Dad's here to help.
Very, very pleased to see you. The cavalry is here. It used to be thought, when I started planting trees, you added compost and manure underneath it, and
That's
you
what I
gave it a
thought,
start, and
yeah.
you fed it. We don't do that now. Because if you put goodness underneath the roots are going to stay there.
Yeah.
Why would they not? And it delays the growing up.
Right.
You put your goodness on top, you mulch thickly.
First, Monty gets to work with Kevin and Alex, digging a hole as deep as the tree's container.
The best soil, in theory, is going to be the first foot, which is what, obviously, we need to keep the best soil to feed back in.
Yeah.
And any really rough stuff on the other side.
With Spock overseeing proceedings, they widen the hole.
Right, so we need to take some turf off. At least another foot.
Another foot, yeah.
Right, what we'll do...
Dig this to...
Take that out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then we'll start digging around.
Right.
So the whole thing's loose.
Now the hole is fully prepared, Monty gives another piece of advice.
So will we need to unravel some of these small
No, if it's very pot-bound, i.e. the roots, what you can do is sometimes just, don't try and unravel them, but just break them.
Yeah.
Just like that. And what that does is stimulate regrowth from the points where they broke. Critical now.
With all preparation completed, it's time for the heavy lifting.
Perfect. Is that the way you want it?
OK, if you slightly twist it towards you, Monty.
That way, OK, to your left.
To my left, yeah, clockwise then.
Yep. OK, we'll come round again.
Yeah, that side is higher, so that's going to work over a path. Yeah, I'm happy with the look of it.
So, what we'll do is we will water it.
Yeah.
When the water's completely soaked in,
right,
then we'll mulch it. Otherwise, the mulch can absorb the moisture.
Right.
You planted a big tree. Not many people ever do that.
The garden has moved on, but there's still a lot to do to create Alex's dream.
I will be back at the beginning of September, expecting a magical fairy woodland and perhaps a magical fairy glass or something to celebrate.
I think that can be arranged.
OK. I can't deny that I was a bit disappointed when I saw the size of tree that Alex had chosen. I was expecting something much bigger and older and more venerable than that. But that was a bit unrealistic. And it is big and it does dominate the garden. And importantly, it makes her feel confident. And I think that's the door opener. All she has to do is put the rest together around it. So when I come back in 6 or 7 weeks' time, there will be a fairy forest to celebrate. Well, I'm delighted to see you, and equally delighted not to see the detritus and building site that was here, which is fine.
Isn't that bad?
So has it been solid graft?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And we've had a
yeah.
lot of help.
We have had a lot of help. Yeah, it's about every year.
But, I mean, clearly the path's in and the patio's in and the pond's in. That's great. Have you dug this deeply, or have you just raked it over because you knew
No,
I was coming?
it's all dug over, all the rubble out.
Great.
Yeah, 60 bags of soil improver in the ground.
Fantastic. You won't regret it, I promise you. That any preparation is going to bear fruit. Yeah. It won't be wasted.
Monty can see how much work they've done and how exhausted they are. So it's time for some fun.
OK, let's get some system into this. Start with, are there any plants that you really know where you would like to put them?
A few, yes.
Right, let's start with those.
These ones in bags have come from my mother. Oh, they're still nice and wet.
Right, cardoon, really big, structural, glaucous foliage, can grow 6, 8 foot tall.
Oh, wow, really?
Every year, and then we'll die back, and we'll then grow again.
Thanks to their inspirational visit, they've mostly gone for plants that like shade.
Maybe at the back or in the middle?
Yeah, no, keep
them all together.
Keep it ferny. You know, keep it simple and strong.
But a few sun lovers have slipped through the net.
With the cotinus, what I find with cotinus is that they need as much sun as you can give them, because the purple foliage struggles to photosynthesize if it's in shade. This structural planting, if you're happy with it, could go in the ground now and then you can work around it.
Great.
With the larger plants laid out, the backup team get going. And Rose is determined to get a special plant installed with Monty's expertise.
I'd really like some help with planting my water lily.
OK.
It's come bare-rooted.
Fine.
So I think I've got all the materials.
Water lilies tend to come bare-rooted, and you've got yourself a good aquatic basket, which has got holes in it, which allows water in and, to a certain extent, roots out. So that's right. You've got aquatic compost. Have you been using this already?
No. The foxes split it open.
Really?
And spread it all across the whole garden. We have terrible trouble with them.
OK. Now, which variety have we got here?
Black Princess.
Oh, nice and rich.
Beautiful colour. So stunning.
Monty approves of Rose's choice. The impressively named Black Princess is one of the largest hardy water lilies. And as it blooms, its petals become a darker and darker shade of red until it's almost black.
So these roots are enough to get us going, but they're not very extensive. So you need to give it a good start on that. So if we put some compost in the bottom, like that,
That's it. Firm that in a bit more. And a bit more. Then, when that's in place, you've got some pebbles, I see. You've obviously done your homework. You know what you should be doing.
Oh, I did my research,
I'm sure you did, right. The pebbles actually aren't 100% essential. What they do is two things. To a certain extent, they stop the soil floating off into the water. And also, if you have fish, they stop fish nibbling into the soil, looking for little things to eat, and that sends clouds up, and that pollutes the water. So we just put a nice layer of stone over it, like that, and spread it round. A bit more. So that is acting both as a plug, sort of a lid on the soil.
Having learned that water lilies must have sun to flower well, Rose has chosen to put hers in the sunniest spot, right at the edge.
Palm down flat, and then put your palm down flat next to it. No, from the bottom of it.
Oh, from there. Oh, it just about might make it.
Absolutely fine. It go deeper than that. Not any trouble.
Monty explains that the aim is for the leaves of the lily to float happily on the surface of the pond.
We've got the momentum going on placing some plants. It's not an exact science. So, in the end, it's going to be a matter of choice, and that's going to be something that you two can work out for yourself. Most of these plants will cope with most of the conditions you offer them, so they're fine, and I can't wait to come back, see them all planted, masses of plants, everything good, and it'll be party time.
It will. Let's hope so, yes.
It's starting to come together.
It really is, yeah. What was in our heads, well, your head, actually.
Yeah.
Your head, and then a printout is now looking...
It's actually quite weird to finally see what was in my head happening for real.
I think Ian and Rose have turned a corner. They've moved beyond treating the place as a building site. We've started some planting, which is great. And the important thing is that they don't see the planting as another job to be done, but something they can luxuriate in, that they can really enjoy and make personal. And then the garden will come alive. Joe and Steve's original plans that they showed me were very typical of a lot that I see, which is lots of nice ideas, but too many. So hopefully I persuaded them to simplify it right down. But it doesn't matter how good it could be if they haven't done the earth moving, if they haven't got the foundations in place by now, there'll be trouble. Hello.
Oh, hello.
Monty. You've clearly been busy.
Yeah.
Very busy.
The biggest hurdle, which we thought would be straightforward, was the sleeper wall. We thought that would be quite straightforward.
Oak is hard.
It's hard.
Oak is very hard.
I dropped a piece on my foot, and now I know how hard it is.
So the levels are good. You've painted everything.
Yeah.
And then you've got the pond.
Which has moved.
Which has moved. Yeah.
Monty's interested to see how much Joe's plans have changed.
So you wanted your private area, though, too?
Yes. We're not going to do sunken. We decided that we've really moved enough soil. Do we need to move any more soil?
Practicality kicked in.
It did.
I'm very happy to help as much as I can. So what would you like me to do with you today? To start with, anyway.
Well, the tree might be a good starting place to get the tree in.
Fine. So let's start with the tree. Come on, it's rain stop. Let's start with the tree.
Fabulous.
Let's do something.
Let's do it.
Joe has got an apple tree, and although it was bought on a pyramid frame, the couple want it to grow along the fence as an espalier.
If you're planting any tree or trees, the thing to remember is you want it to go sideways, not down. So make sure the ground is well dug all around it rather than below it.
Monty explains that planting the tree high in the bed will prevent the roots from sitting in too much moisture and then rotting.
When you're training these things, you need a stem. So, for example, that could easily be one.
Yeah.
And so could that. That's a nice one there.
The couple look on in trepidation as Monty goes to work on their new tree.
So we don't need this one here, so we can take that out. And we won't need that one, so we can take that out. So we can be ruthless and just take it out. Don't be too rough with it. Start by bending it down and then gradually lower it as it wants to go.
Now all they have to do is secure the branches where they want them.
And what we do need is some structure. Got any bamboos?
Yes.
While Steve is left in charge of the apple tree, Joe wants Monty's help planting box hedges that have been stored next door for safekeeping.
So my neighbour's very kindly lent his nursery bed to us.
Ah,
So,
that's handy. Well, let's take a wheelbarrow full
yep.
and see how we go. How are you doing?
Hello. That was a bit wonky.
That's not very supportive, Joe. Let's hope their garden hero is a bit kinder.
Da-da. Not bad. Not bad. Try and get the ends level or if anything slightly up. Because what you don't want is the end growing down.
Ah, right, OK.
Okay?
Yep.
So, and when you're tying it in, you tie in front, like that, and that will be pruned back, and then tie right down to the last couple of inches. And but other than that, that's fine. Right, where do you want these boxes?
I'm sort of thinking in front of the...
Along the back?
Yeah, in a straight line.
Fine. Is the desire to have a hedge that's going to be clipped, to have a loose background? What do you want? How do you want it to be?
I'd like them to be shaped, actually.
And shaped into what sort of shapes?
Maybe a ball or...
So you want a series of balls?
Is it quite easy to maintain?
Dead easy.
In another change to her original plans, Jo is now going for a more streamlined look with her planting, complete with topiary. Monty shows her how to space out the hedges.
I suggest we get the two back ones exactly where you want them.
Once in position, there's nothing for it but to reach for the shears.
When you clip, you're making it grow thicker. You have to remember that the highest point is the top of the curve. So if we go here, for example, we want to cut off all the long growth. Just concentrate on controlling the shears.
Yeah.
Don't think about how you're controlling the shears.
Yeah.
And that truly is the secret of it.
OK.
But of course, when you're tentative and you think, oh, should I cut there or there? And then, oh, God, I've taken, oh, God, you know, it's no good. Boom, 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 you know, go for it. No, you've both worked very hard.
Yeah.
So keep with it. And it's not long before I come back to see the finished thing. Immaculate. Another month or so.
Yeah.
Month, 5 weeks. Yeah.
It's going to come round quick, I think.
It'll come around quicker than perhaps you want.
Yeah.
But not quicker than I want, because I can't wait to see it.
Brilliant.
So, OK, good luck. Enjoy it.
Thank you.
See you.
Monty,
See you
thank you again
Cheers.
for everything.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Well, it was a real delight to see how much work they've done. They've really tackled it and I think solved the problem. So that's good. And we made some tentative steps at planting, despite the weather. And as we were doing so, I realized how important this is to Jo. This is her project, and it really matters to her, and every detail. And when I come back and see what I hope will be the finished planting with all its layout, I think it will be a portrait of Jo. And if she's happy, then Steve will be happy too. This is nitpicky. It's a false economy not to fill seed trays up with compost.
Not to?
Yes.
OK.
Because the more compost you have in there, the longer the root run can be.
Right, OK.
And the healthier they'll grow. What I do is I fill right to the brim, then just wipe the excess off.
OK.
You notice how they're growing?
Yes.
They're all leaning to the light, which means they're not getting enough light.
OK.
So if you can put them somewhere they get a little bit more light, or turn them
Yeah.
at least once a day,
OK, fine.
they won't be craning their necks.
Yes.
Your Rebecca, completely healthy, nice little plant, and if we take that out and have a look, nice root system there. That's ready to either pot on or plant out.
Right, OK.
Ideally, in a pot, you just have whatever that is, a centimetre of fresh compost for it to grow into.
OK.
Don't be tempted to get the biggest pot you've got and think, there you are, that will grow enormous. It won't do it any good at all. It's a complete waste of compost. When you're potting on, just put some underneath. Not too much. As I say, it doesn't need a vast amount. That's too much. There we go, that's plenty. Like that. And just gently filter around.
Yeah, give it a tap. Not that much. This is just long and laborious at the moment.
Oh, sweet peas, great. Now these you can pinch out.
OK.
You see that? If I go in there
Yeah.
and just pinch above that,
Oh my goodness.
just pinch that off. There you go.
Okay.
I could even be more radical than that and go right down to there.
But they took so long to grow.
Go on, you do it. Go on, be brave.
Oh,
Be brave. What you're encouraging are side shoots and a bushier plant, and you'll have more flowers for longer.
I never knew this.
Yeah.
Time to get planting, and Monty is feeling victorious.
Aren't you grateful that I made you buy so much?
I'm not so sure. After it's planted, maybe.
Before we plant anything, place everything where you think it might go, then stand back, move things around. Then when you're ready, plant the whole lot.
Okay,
so let's start with big plants.
Out here?
Don't agonise at this stage. Near the willow, get it out there. This is putting paint on the canvas. We're not trying to fine-tune it. Lavender grows best, very good drainage, full sunshine, alkaline soil. So do you want to put some lavender behind and then put the smaller herbs in front?
Yes, and I could maybe buy some more lavender.
You see, I was trying to tell you to buy it. You should have bought a tray.
Perhaps Nigat should have heeded the voice of experience. With placing complete, Monty sets about getting them in the ground. But it's tougher than expected.
This is really terrible. It's like planting into concrete.
Luckily, Nigat is on hand with her mattock.
Everybody out of my way, I'm a bit clumsy.
Very good.
But Monty won't stop there.
I want to help you plant one more thing.
Okay.
And I suggest the lavender because that is completely different. And you're saying it's clay down below?
Yes.
So if we dig out a much bigger hole than the lavender wants, now at the bottom of the hole, I'm going to put a handful of stone for drainage. So we pop that in there like that. And what that means is the lavender roots won't be sitting in a puddle ever. You don't need to add any compost beneath it.
Right.
Put it on top. If you have a healthy, well-fed soil, you will have a healthy, well-fed plant.
I think Monty was pleased. I'm not sure how much.
My one worry is that everything is a little bit over-intellectualized, over-debated. And there are times when you have to just act and follow your intuition.
Monty was very ruthless about, putting plants down, put them down and then think. So do first and then think. I'm just the opposite. We got a lot done. This would not have been done.